Here we go. All right, so this is Russ. Russ, tell me, are you a podcaster yourself?
I am.
And what's the name of your podcast?
It's called The Safety Matters Show, which is also a YouTube channel.
Okay, perfect.
I do both.
Yeah, tell me. I mean, let's start with the YouTube. So you do video as well. It sounds like. What kind of growth do you see on YouTube versus other platforms like Apple Podcasts, more the audio based?
Well, much of my content demands visuals, and so it's hard to get a good visual from a podcast audience. My podcast audience are people driving in their car to work or to or from work, and they're not wanting video. They're not wanting content. They just want an audio channel. So I deliver that. I then import that with video, and that's my YouTube channel. So I kind of have two markets, one for YouTube and one for podcasting, Apple and Google podcasting.
Okay, and what's the premise of your podcast? What's the elevator pitch?
It's all about safety. You know, safety is kind of a boring subject. If you ever talk to safety people, they tend to be either intimidating or boring or both. But I make safety fun. We talk about programs where a celebrity might get hurt, and the media tells you, XYZ celebrity. Well, Bob Saget died right here in Orlando from a slip and fall in his hotel room. And they tell you Bob Saget died, they don't know why, and then they go on, it's a celebrity. Well, while they're talking about what happened to who, I talk about what happened and why. And so I capture an audience that wants to know really what happened to Bob Saget. I'm using it as an example. And so I kind of built my audience that way. Been doing it for about 3 years.
Okay, fantastic. And what does your growth look like for your podcast?
Podcast was very good. But in between all that, I had a radio show, and that was a brilliant move. If you do local radio, it's very, very affordable. You have a huge audience, and then you migrate your radio audience to your podcast. People that say, hey, I love your show, but I missed it. But I caught it on your podcast. So you get the best of both, and you kind of build a bigger audience, a more loyal audience. That's the key. A lot of podcasters will have an audience that kind of waxes and wanes. It kind of goes up and goes down, and it's this battle. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? You're really not doing anything right or wrong. You haven't found the sweet spot. The people that really, really love your message and will tune in. And in fact, they'll wait for you. Hey, it's Wednesday night. You didn't post your updated episode. They're waiting on it. But that takes a while to get there. You got to build, and that's where the money comes in. You got to be patient because time is money. And if you don't mind not making money for a while, you just have to invest in equipment like you see around us, good audio equipment, whatever, sound recording, editing equipment. But if you want to grow an audience, it does take patience. Yeah,
you touched on two things that I think are very critical with growth, which is having a very niche and specific focus of your podcast, because then your audience, you're speaking to an audience that really wants to consume your topic. And then, the second thing is with consistency, and that's, I'm talking to people today about the software application I developed called PodTask, and it really is designed to help people, podcasters, create that consistency with having a repeatable production flow. But, final questions. This is kind of a two-parter. What's been your greatest achievement as well as your biggest pain point in terms of growing your podcast?
Well, if you go into podcasting with a message, you have to understand that eventually you're probably going to run out of content. That's why most podcasters fail, because they ran out of what they wanted to say. They said it, they kind of said it again, and after 6 months, they're done saying it, and there's no content that's deliverable. It never caught on because it does take a while. They never built an audience, they never built a following, and they quit, they give up. That's the data in podcasting reflects that. It's tough. The ones that are really successful are the ones that work hard to find their audience, be patient, experiment a little bit. You don't have to hire people. I'm not an advocate for hiring, marketing people and that, because if you don't have an audience, the marketing people that are writing your show notes aren't really going to help you. It's a cost. And then, you kind of get disillusioned, you get depressed, and say nobody cares.
Burnout.
I'm getting no feedback. And you just think there's nobody out there listening to you, and you kind of throw the towel in. Well, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm about as niche as you can get. Slips and falls. I talk about slip and fall safety for the most part. And I broaden that audience with the YouTube channel, which is called Safety Matters. I talk about safety in general, but we make it entertaining and educational, and people get kind of clued in on that. And so, you build an audience, and that audience, the key is to get them coming back week after week or episode after episode, and you grow it. And that's patience. Patience, everybody. Be patient.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Russ, hey, thank you for stopping by.
You're welcome.
Your head's been kind of cut off on our camera here, but thank you. So, hey, can I